A little learning for you this Friday, right? We gotta continue to learn. It's not all about being excited and motivated. It's about, do I have some practical things that I can implement in my life in order for me to get to this life that I desire, to improve in my health, improve in my finances, improve in my relationships? Do I have the practical things? And something that you'll learn if you watch any more Jim Quick stuff, right? You got to understand it takes energy to go after your goals. It takes energy to go after your dreams. It takes focus to go after those things. Our brain stops us from having energy, from focusing. Therefore, we can't get to the place we want to go. All the motivation and inspiration in the world is not going to do it if you can't figure out how to get clear, how to get focused up here. It's not gonna, it's actually gonna lead you to more frustration because you're gonna want something that you're not able to get because we haven't attacked the thing. It's the brain, it's the mindset, it's how we think about things. It's what we put in place in our life in order to get to the life we don't need a break from. That's what this is. And so I wanted to teach you some stuff this Friday. I want you to, again, learn how to do this process. Part of us getting to where we want to go, you have to unlearn and relearn all types of things. And so we have to start thinking about, how do we focus more? Many of us struggle with energy. Like, you just don't have energy at the end of the day, in the middle of the day. You're 3 o'clock coffee pick me up, or right as soon as you get home, you plop on the couch, or right, you do your wind down technique or whatever it is. We need to figure out what gives us energy in order to get it. Normally, what we lean towards is not giving us energy. Television, social media, more electronics, alcohol, whatever it is, like that's not actually giving us more energy. It's just continuing to take it away. But that's what the world does. That's what people that are out there, right, believe is the way to do it. He gave you some stuff here that I think you can practically implement so we can avoid things like that decision fatigue. Again, and I kind of, as I was listening to the show, I was kind of thinking of this one thing. You know how I talk about the employee mind versus the entrepreneur mindset? The entrepreneur mindset is not about having a business, it's about ownership of your life. What we talked about today is basically ownership of your time, ownership of your life. Are you intentional about the 24 hours you get and what you do with those 24 hours? Right? That's what this is about. This is taking ownership back. You gave it away to your job, you gave it away to your family, like you gave away ownership of your time. And so everything outside is running you. But we got to get clear, we got to get focused. So we got to take back ownership of our time, we got to take back ownership of our mind. That's how we get there. Talked about decision fatigue, making too many decisions. Like I'm sure many of you believe this, right? Like there's just too many things going on, too many things you have to pay attention to, too many moving parts. The job has you thinking 8,000 things and multitasking all this stuff, and then you get home and you got all the stuff, right? You have to be able to limit the decisions that you make. I'm in the Steve Jobs camp, meaning like I have the same like 6 things that I wear. Clothing is the last thing I want to think about. My wife will tell you, right? There's a bunch of times that she'll ask me questions and I just literally am like, I don't care, right? Like, just pick it. I don't have the mental, I don't want to use the mental capacity to make that decision if it's not going to impact the big things and the things that are happening. You can take my opinion, but at the end of the day, I'm not thinking about it. I don't want to think about what I'm wearing. I really don't. It really doesn't matter to me at all. So that's something I can take out of that decision making process so I can keep my mind sharp, so I can continue to focus and have clarity. How many things in your life are you making decisions on that really aren't important, that you're thinking about that you really shouldn't, you really don't need to think about it, whichever way it plays out? If you wear the black shirt today or the white shirt today, it doesn't really matter, right? It really doesn't. But you got to identify these things so that, again, it can give you more focus and clarity, which can help you get more energy. Talked about planning your day. You've heard me say that 1,000 times, right? You got to plan your day. Plan your day the night before. How many of us still do that? How many of y'all still do that? That before you go to bed, You know exactly what your next day will be. Again, sometimes the job takes this away from us because at the end of the day, you go to sleep knowing I have to wake up at this time to be at the job at this time. That's as far of planning as we do. That's as far planning as we do. And then you might know what you got to do when you get off of work. But that's about it. That's not taking ownership of your day. What time are you waking up? And then what's the first things you're doing? Do you have a morning routine? That's the thing you talked about is creating a routine. Do you have a morning routine? I've encouraged you all to have a morning routine. I've constantly told you, hey, the first 30 minutes of your day should be yours. You shouldn't be waking up with the alarm clock and then rush in and looking at the phone and doing all the stuff. No, no, no. You need to be intentional about the first 30 minutes of your day. You need to be intentional, whatever that looks like for you, whether it's journaling, whether it's meditation, whether it's prayer, whether it's reading the Bible, whether it's taking a walk, whether it's stretching, whether it's drinking water, whether it's staring out the window. You need that time in the morning to create a routine for yourself. Jim Quick tells you this is helping your brain. It's not just helping you produce what you like, it's helping your brain get more structure because you're intentional about a routine. That's why this is important. You got to plan your day. You got to be intentional about the 24 hours God gives you. He gives us all the same amount of time. What you do with your time will determine your outcomes. But if you're not aware of what you're doing with your time, it's just going to go everywhere. It's going to go to anyone. It's going to go to anything. It's just going to go. And though this is when we start saying things like, oh, there's never enough time, or oh, I'm so tired. It's just because you're not intentional about the time you have. And again, like he said, life is not rigid. Obviously, you got to build in some flexibility, but having that morning routine, creating that anchor, like he said, if you can't get to everything, get to at least one thing. If you normally have 30 minutes and you only got 15 today, don't do nothing. Like just do half of what you normally do. But that's so important to get into the life that we don't need a break from, right? It's so important to make sure that we have that there. So we talked about creating a routine. Second thing he said was time blocking. I've learned this as an entrepreneur. Again, a lot of people want, right? A lot of people want to be able to control their 24 hours. You don't want to be at your job anymore, right? You don't want anybody kind of putting limits on you, but can you control your 24 hours? One of the things that helped me, like Jim Quick said, is time blocking. It's not multitasking. It's doing one task at one time, and that's it. If I'm locked in here, I will not answer the phone call. That takes me away. I will not send the text message back. I will not answer the thing if I'm here. Then, when I'm done with this, then I can get to the phone call. Then I can get to the thing. Multitasking has messed up so many people's brains because that's not what our brains are designed for. Your brain is a laser. It's going to get you, whatever you point it at, that's what it's going to hit. But if you have too many things and you're pointing at too many things, we have no shot to get to the life we don't need a break from. I'm just teaching you some things on this Friday so you can be aware. You can be aware of what's happening to you instead of blaming it on the energy or blaming it on, right, the circumstances around you and people taking it's you. You just got to take ownership again of it. Maybe you need to block out some time. Say, hey, from this time to this time, I take nothing else in. This is just all I'm doing. Time blocking is important. And then he said brain breaks. Brain breaks, again, things I've implemented. Not on the call, but like sometimes in the middle of the day, I'll go take a walk. Now, again, your job, if you are still working, it might not afford you that, right? You might not be afforded the time to do it. But I promise you, if you can find some time, take back this ownership and just put this in place where you say, you know what, my brain needs a little bit of a break. And then what you do with that, it's not then scrolling on social media. That's actually not giving your brain a break. When you put more information and more dopamine hits by looking at like that's not giving your brain a break actually. If you're just watching TV or you're doing like that's not the break your brain needs. It's you need to go touch some grass. You need to ground yourself. You need to walk outside. You need to take deep breaths. You need to take 5 minutes to just breathe. I'm in a co-working space with a really really nice Indian gentleman who's building his leadership practice right now, and he was just telling me part of his yogic, like he's into like the yoga kind of meditation side of things. He's like he'll turn the lights off and take a 5 minute almost like power nap. He's not sleeping, but he's like I shut everything down. I turn off the light. I lay on the floor and I close my eyes for 5 minutes. And I was asking him, I was like, do you ever go to sleep? Like, if I turn the lights off in the middle of the day, I'm going to sleep, man. I'm not waking back up. He's like, every once in a while, like I feel myself, but it's very intentional break. It's an intentional break in his mind before he does the next task. Again, you might not be afforded that at your job. You might be. They might give you 30 minutes. They might give you an hour. We just consume things. We fill it up with other things. Maybe we should start to think about, how do I get that break? You live in a place, sunny Florida, you live in California, you live somewhere where it's nice. You should be taking a walk every day, right? For all your breaks. Go out, get the sun, the good old vitamin D, take deep breaths. Like, this is how we get our brains to refocus. Because again, ladies and gentlemen, it takes energy to go after your goals and dreams. It takes energy. And that's what, when I coach people, most people just don't have the energy to do the things required. So we have to work on that. If we want the outcomes to change, you want your life to change, you want your relationship to change, it's going to take energy that you put towards that. If you want your finances to change, it's going to take energy. You want your business, you want any part of your life to change, it's going to require energy in order to do that. So, what are you doing to get yourself energy? What we talked about today is you got to start to really pay attention to your brain, to the structure of your day. So your brain doesn't have to do so much work, like it's working overtime to make small decisions, because your life is chaotic, because there's nothing in place. You don't have a morning routine. You don't have a night routine. You don't have any place that you can just say, I don't have to make this decision. This is already handled for me. Life becomes incredibly chaotic. And then we wonder why we get burnt out. And we wonder why we don't have energy, and we wonder why we don't have motivation, and we wonder why we can't get things done. It's because we're just not being intentional. Okay. So for this Friday, I want you to just start to be intentional about the structure of your day, like what your brain has to do in order to get through the day. You can take ownership of your time. You can take ownership of your life by just starting to plan your days. Just plan a little bit more. We say this in some of our presentations. Most people don't plan to fail. They just fail to plan. Same like with your life. You're not planning to fail at this thing. You're not planning to not get to the life you don't need a break from. It's just you don't have a plan. You don't have a plan for your day every day, 7 days a week, not 5 days on, 2 days off, right? That is, again, not how we have ownership of our life. It's 7 days a week. I have a plan for my day. My brain does not have to work so hard, work overload, work overtime. That takes all my energy and all my focus, so that by the end of the day, by the middle of the day, I have no energy to go after my goals and dreams. That can't be us, ladies and gentlemen. You got to actually be intentional about these things and watch your life change. All right. Again, you got to learn. You got to learn how to be this way. This isn't natural for us. This isn't natural for us. Life, society, parenting, programming, all the stuff takes you a completely different way from what I'm talking about. But this is the necessary stuff. This is the stuff that allows you to change your life. This is the stuff that allows you to get to that life you don't need a break from. This is the stuff that builds the capacity in you to handle the life you're asking for. This is the mental gym. This is how we do this. There's a bunch of stuff you're asking for that you can't personally handle right now. If it was all on you, we don't have these things in place. We don't have the structure. We don't have the brain capacity, which means we won't have the energy, which means we'll burn out, which means we'll give up, which means we'll get depressed. Like, this is what happens. My encouragement to you this Friday, my challenge for you this Friday, is to start being intentional about the structure of your day, what your brain has to do every day. Reclaim some of that time. Take back some of your power to say, hey, I'm going to do these things. I'm going to start planning the day. I'm going to eliminate some of this decision fatigue. I'm going to start time blocking. I'm going to give myself some brain breaks so that I can rest and recover my brain so it can be sharp, so we can point it at the mission. We can point this laser of a brain that God gave us to the thing that we want most. We can get clear on our vision and we can start to focus on it. That's how this stuff happens, y'all. Okay? I love y'all. I want you to win. You deserve it. Your families deserve it. Again, I use today to teach because we got to learn. You got to learn how this stuff works. It's very practical things. Now, just like Jim Quick said, you got to go take action. Once you hear it, go take action. Put something small in today that gives you that brain break. Don't just wait for the end of the day to just do nothing. Put it in and then watch how this thing changes. Go out, push yourself this weekend, do something that challenges you, do something that scares you, do something that pushes you out of your comfort zone, and let's keep growing at this thing. I used to say this all the time. I'll say it again because it's too crowded down here at the bottom. It's time to get to the top. All right. Love you guys. Enjoy your weekend. I'll see you Monday.